Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping straight into a stack of sources that lay out something called the E3 collapse theory.
Right.
It's a framework that forecasts the systemic fragmentation of Europe's core powers. We're talking Germany, France, and the UK sometime between 2026 and 2027.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The core argument in these sources is that the E3 are, well, structurally fragile. They're basically propped up by two huge external pillars,
Which are U.S. security guarantees and the U.S. dollar trade order, right?
Exactly. And this deep dive, we're focusing on what the sources call the synergistic convergence model.
I know.
It's a mouthful.
It sounds it.
It basically just means a dual shock scenario. A collapse happens when those two pillars fail at the exact same time.
Okay, so a dual shock. You've got one, a U.S. constitutional and currency crisis, and two, a decisive Russian strategic victory in Ukraine.
That's it. And the sources claim these two things are set to converge.
Let's start with the first shock, then, the American decoupling. The metrics cited are, well, they're genuinely alarming.
They really are.
The one that really stood out was the Constitutional Unraveling Index, the CUI. It hits a critical 99 out of 100.
And for you listening, a CUI score that high isn't just a number. It means the federal system has operationally failed.
What does that look like on the ground?
It looks like the weaponized defunding of the federal judiciary.
Yeah.
I mean, when the legal foundation of the country is gone, the societal rupture is just impossible to ignore.
And that's where this No Kings protest movement comes in.
Yeah, a massive grassroots rejection of executive legitimacy. The organizers claimed nearly 7 million people took part.
7 million. Across all 50 states.
Across all 50 states
Right.
in October 2025. That's the scale of the rupture we're talking about.
And the financial shock that goes with it is immediate. The economic instability score, the EIS, hits 95 out of 100.
Right. And that chaos, it just pours gasoline on the fire. The dollar's decline accelerates, and you see this massive sovereign risk capital flight.
This is what the sources call the first death blow to Europe.
It is, because the European banking system is largely collateralized against U.S. dollar assets. When those assets essentially vaporize, Europe's financial footing just disappears from under it.
Okay, so that's the financial shock. How quickly does the second shock, the Eastern Front, collapse follow all this?
Immediately. The timing is what makes it so devastating. The sources are pretty clear that the Western strategy in Ukraine is definitively failing at this point.
And they point to a specific strategic linchpin, don't they? The city of Pokrovsk.
Yes, Pokrovsk, or Krasnoarmeysk. Russian forces have it about 70% surrounded and controlled, and its fall triggers what they call a non-linear collapse of the entire Donbas front.
So one city falls, the whole line breaks.
The whole thing. And the military reality on the ground just validates Russia's attrition strategy. You look at the numbers,
Ukraine is facing catastrophic desertion rates, something like 300 to 500 people a day.
which points to a total failure of unit cohesion. Meanwhile, Russia's maintaining a strategic reserve of 350,000 troops. A dictated peace becomes unavoidable.
So a financial vacuum and a security vacuum hit Europe simultaneously.
Right, and France is identified as the sort of financial detonator in all this.
Because of their debt.
Yeah, the global risk-off event just pushes their debt to GDP to somewhere between 116 and 118%. Their borrowing costs become unsustainable.
Which forces them into Greek-style austerity.
Measures that are politically toxic. I mean, the public will just not accept it.
And Germany.
Germany is completely paralyzed. They're already in structural stagnation with GDP growth at a tiny 0.2 to 0.3%, and they're trapped by their own constitution.
The Schuldenbremse. The debt break.
Exactly. It prevents Berlin from authorizing the kind of massive bailouts or the rearmament spending that would be needed to save the bloc. They literally can't act.
And this instability is just pure fuel for hypernationalism.
Of course. You see the AfD polling between 20 and 26% in Germany. In France, the National Rally is leading with 35-36%.
So the political will for cooperation just dies.
It evaporates. Essential defense projects, like the Future Combat Air System, that joint French-German fighter jet, it's just dead in the water.
So what does this all mean? What's the final picture?
The final picture is that the E3 are stripped of their two foundational assets. No more U.S. security blanket, no more stable dollar. And this leads not to a big war, but to systemic impotence.
So fragmentation. They just cease to function as cohesive great powers.
Yeah, exactly.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative thought for you to explore. The convergence of these shocks, it raises a critical question. If the U.S. nuclear umbrella breaks down and you have a new French isolationism, Could that force remaining powers, maybe like Germany and Poland, to consider independent nuclear options to deter Russia in this chaotic post-2027 world? Something to mull over as the pillars fall.